Hello, my name is Kyle Aumiller. I'm a consultant with Model Technology Solutions, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about troubleshooting co-management. A few of the first steps with co-management are to, one, make sure that the device is properly joined to Azure AD, which in this case would be if the device is on-prem, that you want to make sure that it's hybrid joined, or if it's cloud-based, make sure it's Azure AD joined. Azure AD devices will not work as part of co-management, so keep that in mind whenever you're trying to troubleshoot devices, is if they are not hybrid joined or Azure joined, those are the only two supported types. Any of the internet-facing devices, devices that are Azure AD joined, they will require a CMG if you want to implement co-management for internet-facing only devices as well. So first, I've got a virtual machine here. This one right now currently is not joined to Azure. The reason that I know this is that my particular setup in my lab here only allows specific OUs to be synced. So in this case, I know that this device is not joined. Typically, the way you can check this is if you open up command prompt and type in dsreg cmd /status. You'll get a screen that looks a lot like this. If you scroll up to the top of it, you'll see in this case that the Azure AD join is set to no, and the domain join is set to yes. And if you scroll down a little bit further, it'll say is device joined. That will also say no, and then we'll also say no for is user Azure AD joined. The way to get around this is really the first step that I take a look at whenever I'm troubleshooting a device. The next step is to also check your Azure AD portal and see if the device name is showing. The way that you can do this is to find out what the computer name is. In this case, mine is VM CoManagement 1. So I'm going to copy that name and come out to the Azure AD portal. And in this case, I just typed in part of the name here. And I do not see that device as being registered into Azure AD. So that's the first step in identifying what is actually going on with the device if it's not joining. What I'll do now is just join this to, move the device to the proper OU. So in this case, on the device, I know that the computer's OU is not synced since I have my Azure AD sync custom set to not include this OU. But what I can do is move it down here to the workstation's OU, which I know is a synced OU. And I'm going to go ahead and restart this device. Now, behind the scenes, you also have the Azure AD Connect client, which I've already got pulled up here. I'm going to go ahead and kick off a sync. And what this will do is take a look at what devices have changed. And given a few minutes, that device should now appear in my Azure AD portal. Okay, it looks like my device is back up. So I'm just going to validate again what this computer name is. And as I said, the sync does take some time. Off another sync. Okay, and now that device has synced. All right, so it's showing a registration time. Shows that it is hybrid Azure AD joined. And if I come out of here and run my dsreg command again, I should now see a lot more information in here. So it shows the device is Azure AD joined, has my tenant ID, and it shows that the device is joined also was as well down here. All right. Typically, I usually restart after this, just to make sure that the join actually worked properly. All right, if you notice also, Teams should come up and automatically log in for me as well too, since I have single sign-on also enabled. In which case it did work. And if I come back out here to my Azure AD portal, nothing is showing pending here, which is a good sign. And if I go out to endpoint.microsoft.com, this usually takes a few minutes as well too, but once everything comes up, we should see that device pop up in here as well. Okay, so the device did not pop up. Now the next step in troubleshooting from here is figuring out why the device did not automatically enroll in Intune, which would then enable Intune co-management. So if I come out here and look, I've already looked at my co-management handler log. Just open that up. So it doesn't look like any of the settings have actually been created just yet. So what I'm going to do is come out here to the console here, control panel, and open up the Configuration Manager client. And I'm going to look at configuration settings here. So in this case, I only have one, which if I try to evaluate it, I should start to see some activity in here. But I'm still seeing that the device is not provisioned. So at this point in time, what I'm going to do is come out here and take a look at the SCCM console and look at what my configuration settings are for co-management. Okay. So currently, here's one issue. I have my current SCCM system set up for just a pilot testing right now, so that means it's not enrolling all devices. The upload is also not configured to automatically upload all devices. This is a newer feature within the past few releases of SCCM. Right now, I've only got my pilot settings going to CoManagement testing. So I'm going to go ahead and move that system into that specific collection. Okay, I'm just going to validate that that device is showing appropriately in this collection, which it is. Okay. So now if I come out here and look, I do not have any of the baselines configured yet here. So what I'm going to do is come out here and do a machine policy. And we'll give it a couple seconds to refresh. All right, so now I've got a few other options here. So in this case, since I'm running pilot right now, I'm going to go ahead and just do this pilot auto enroll. I'm going to have that in the background so you can kind of see it move. Okay, and now it looks like I have a message in here that says the machine is already enrolled with NDM and the device is provisioned, so that looks good. And if I come out here to my console now, within a few minutes it should appear in here. Okay, coming back now, it looks like my device is showing up as co-managed. So back to the SCCM console. If we come back out here and look at our co-management settings, just one thing I want to touch on for troubleshooting. You have what are called workloads out here. So in my case, I'm only using Intune for compliance, device configuration, endpoint protection, and resource access policies. Depending on how you want your setup to be, you can have staging specifically set up in this case for any of the pilot markers. So if you're looking at specific devices that you might have test your compliance policies, your device configuration, your endpoint protection, and resource access policies, or any of these really, you can adjust those workloads as needed. So for example, if I want to do Windows Update policies, I'll move that over here. And then I can come out here and select the staging group. In this case, I'd let Endpoint Manager control all of my Windows updates. So there are ways that you can customize this. If you're ever having issues with devices not receiving policy that they should be, check which collection these devices are actually in and where the slider is actually at. If you go full Intune, so for my compliance policies, if I wanted all Intune-based compliance, I can come out there, slide that over to Intune, and then look at staging, and I can no longer select what collection is doing what. So in this case, I'm going to leave that back to where it was at. Back on the Endpoint Manager page here, if you look, it shows that the device is not compliant. So whenever you're trying to troubleshoot issues, especially surrounding compliance, you come out here and just look at device compliance and device, and it will show that my compliance Windows 10 policy here. I can click on that, and it's just saying that it needs BitLocker. So in this case, BitLocker is probably not kicked off yet. I do not know if this virtual machine has a virtual TPM set up on it, which it does, so BitLocker should kick off at some point. One thing to note about BitLocker is it does not like CD-ROM drives. So I'm going to remove that now, and BitLocker should kick off again shortly. So when you're troubleshooting compliance issues, you can come out here and look, and it will tell you exactly what's going on. So in this case, it shows error code. Next place you can go out here and look is if you look under computer management, specifically for BitLocker, there are logs out here that will show you everything that's going on. And if you look here, yeah, so that's kind of the issue with it. As I was saying earlier, BitLocker does not like CD-ROM drives on the disk drive, so again, BitLocker will probably kick off after I restart the system. Actually, it already did. I've already got the lock there, so everything's good to go. Once BitLocker gets fully enabled on the drive, this compliance policy will still show that there is an error here, so don't be alarmed. The one thing you do have to do is really restart the device. The reason for that is the compliance policy specific portions of it, specifically dealing with encryption, will not actually reevaluate until that device is restarted. For more troubleshooting on the devices, if you want to find out what workloads are managed by this device, in this case, you can see that you look at the device through the Endpoint Manager Admin Center. Once you go to the overview of the device, you can find out what workloads Intune manages for the specific device. These I find crucial for if, say, you have compliance policy that's not applying to a device, for example. You can come out here and look and actually validate from here that the compliance policy is in fact applying to this device. The next option is if you're looking for the way a device is configured. You can close out some windows. If you come out and look at, go to Settings, Accounts, Access Worker School. In this case, I've only got my one domain listed here. I go to Info, and you can see some areas that Intune does apply policies. So in this case, I've got BitLocker policies, Windows Defender, some security settings. There's also an option to sync. So if you want to manually force a sync over on a device, you can do that as well. The bigger one is you can also see, create a advanced diagnostic report. So once I do that, it will export that. It's a tab file. I'll go to the users folder, public, documents, MDM diagnostics. From here, you can create a report. Go ahead and do an export. If we navigate out to see users, public documents, there'll be this MDM diagnostics folder. You can come out here and see, of course, what the device name is, what the operating system is, the version is, what type of CPU you're running on, have your tenant name in there. But then it will also have any policies that are applied to this device. So this is helpful whenever you're looking at troubleshooting. If you want to find out exactly what is applied to a device, you can take a look at it from here.